5 seconds. That is exactly how long you can easily hold your breath without even noticing any discomfort. But what if it wasn't you holding your breath? What if the entire planet Earth completely lost its oxygen for those same 5 seconds? At first glance, it seems like a minor, unnoticeable glitch, but in reality, within less than 3 seconds, the world you know would cease to exist. Official science and textbook models hide a terrifying truth about the structural foundation of our atmosphere that is never taught. Today you will see what happens when the primary element of our planet vanishes, and why humanity would have 0 chances to survive. To understand the sheer scale of the catastrophe, we must look at how our world is constructed. Concrete is the literal skeleton of modern civilization. Oxygen acts as a crucial binding agent for all concrete compounds. Without it, CO2 cannot maintain the internal molecular stability. The exact moment oxygen disappears, every single dam on Earth would turn into dust. Bridges, highways, and skyscrapers would lose their rigidity in a fraction of a second. But the complete destruction of our infrastructure is just the first stage. Metals would behave in a way that seems entirely impossible. You see, all raw metals on our planet are covered with a very thin layer of oxidation. This natural layer is the only thing preventing them from melting into each other upon contact. Without this oxygen barrier, every piece of uninsulated metal undergoes immediate cold welding. Internal combustion engines would instantly fuse into solid, immovable blocks. Imagine millions of vehicles moving at high speed across the globe. They would stop dead in their tracks as their internal gears permanently bond. This triggers an immediate, worldwide transportation collapse within the first 2 seconds. Power grids would short out as copper wires fuse into single massive conductors. The entire electronic world goes silent. But the atmosphere above is preparing an even more terrifying twist. Step 3. The erasure of light. On a normal day, our atmosphere scatters blue light. This Rayleigh scattering is the exact reason we see a bright daylight sky. With over 20% of air molecules gone in an instant, light scattering stops. The sky turns as black as midnight, while the sun continues to burn blindly. Simultaneously, the global air pressure drops by a staggering 21%. For a human body, this pressure drop is a death sentence. It is the equivalent of being instantly teleported to a high altitude. Everyone's inner eardrum would instantly rupture and explode from internal pressure. But biology is nothing compared to what happens to water. Water is 1/3 oxygen. Without it, the chemical bond is broken. Hydrogen turns into a free, highly volatile gas under immense pressure. The world's oceans would instantly boil and expand, erupting into the upper atmosphere. Gigantic hydrogen shock waves would distort the planet beyond recognition. And now, we look at the ultimate secret hidden right beneath our feet. The Earth's crust is not solid rock, as you were told in school. Geologists know that exactly 46% of the crust's mass is pure oxygen. When that mass completely vanishes, the solid ground loses its volume. The entire crust crumbles down into a planet-wide, terrifying sinkhole. Everything resting on the surface enters a state of free fall into the molten interior. The absolute destruction of human civilization is completed, and all of this happens before the 5-second mark is even reached. 3 seconds into the anomaly, the planet enters a state of absolute, silent chaos. As the oceans turn into vapor, thousands of massive cargo ships instantly drop into empty sea chasms. In the sky, a different kind of physical law seals the fate of aviation. Internal combustion engines need oxygen to create a spark. The moment it vanishes, every airplane freezes in midair. Gliders and birds would theoretically try to use aerodynamics to survive. But with 20% of the atmosphere gone, the air becomes too thin. They would simply fall like heavy stones. Chemists hide another dark fact about the water supply inside our own bodies. Living tissue is 70% water. Without oxygen binding it, human cells would experience immediate internal boiling. Glaciers and polar ice caps would lose their solid structure in less than 4 seconds. Massive ice walls would detonate, turning into expansive clouds of pure hydrogen gas. On the surface, the topsoil of the continents enters the final phase of collapse. As the oxygen matrix within the dirt dissolves, entire forests and fields crumble into loose dust. Geographical borders become completely meaningless as the crust folds inward. The tectonic plates, lacking nearly half of their atomic mass, shatter like thin glass over a burning furnace. Magma from the mantle rushes upward to fill the newly created vacuum voids. Giant volcanic rifts tear open through the ruins of shattered metropolises. 4.9 seconds. The absolute limit of planetary endurance has been reached. And then, at the exact 5th second, the anomaly stops. Oxygen returns. But the sudden return of the gas does not mean salvation. Rushing back into a collapsed atmosphere, the air creates a supersonic global shockwave. The hydrogen that boiled off from the oceans instantly reacts with the returning oxygen. This triggers a planet-wide detonation. The entire sky turns into a giant plasma firestorm. Within less than 6 seconds, the experiment is over. There is simply no one left to witness the aftermath. Step 5. The quiet aftermath. The global firestorm clears, leaving behind a scarred planet. Cities that once held millions of lives are now silent monuments of melted steel and ash. The water that evaporated during the boiling phase doesn't just return as rain. Without oxygen to balance the chemical trace elements, it turns into a massive wave of global acid rain. Structures that miraculously survived the initial collapse face rapid chemical erosion. The molecular links in the concrete were permanently broken. Buildings continue to fall for months. Only a few high-altitude research assets and deep orbital satellites would remain intact. Astronauts aboard the international stations would watch the day turn to night, completely unaware of the physical cause. They would listen to a dead radio spectrum, trying to establish contact with a civilization that vanished. Deep underground bunkers designed for nuclear wars offer zero protection against an atmospheric pressure shift. Geologists and atmospheric physicists understand that our existence is balanced on a knife's edge. The global air supply is not a constant value. It is controlled by invisible, fragile balances. Even a micro-fluctuation of just 1% would trigger immediate shifts in weather models, creating severe superstorms and permanent changes in global tectonic stability. History shows that Earth has experienced atmospheric shifts before, recorded in ancient geological codes. Massive extinction events of the prehistoric eras were often triggered by sudden changes in chemical baselines. Modern research institutes run simulation matrices every single day to predict these anomalies, but their models all confirm one bitter truth. Human technology can never fix a global atomic rift. So the next time you take a deep breath on a quiet morning, remember how fragile this action truly is. 5 seconds of complete absence is all it takes to wipe away 10,000 years of human progress. The timer is constantly running, and our atmosphere is a finite resource. We explore outer space looking for answers, while ignoring the fragile shell keeping us alive right here. Official institutions prefer to keep the vulnerabilities of our planet hidden from public panic, leaving the ultimate truths buried deep in locked, classified archives. But now, the secret mechanism of planetary collapse is revealed to you. Subscribe to follow our investigations and dig deeper into the forbidden chapters of our reality. The official record is incomplete. We are here to read between the lines. Stay alert. The next mystery is closer than you think.